Hi friends, what is up? Welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Bridget, and today we're going to be talking about the 5 books that you need to read in 2025. These are 5 books that I ranked really highly, all 5 stars, and I think about constantly and have, I would say, changed my life. Not just as a reader, but as a person. So sorry if you can hear the roosters. Our backyard neighbors have chickens. Number 1, you must read Lessons in Chemistry if you have not read this book already. Please, please, please read this book. This is a historical fiction written by Bonnie Garmis. This book won the Goodreads Choice Awards for Favorite Debut Novel in 2022. It was also named the Barnes & Noble Book of the Year in 2022. This book was inspired by the author's own life and career. She was a creative director for an advertising agency. More specifically, this book was inspired by a meeting that she had where a male coworker took credit for her idea. This book is set in the 1960s in Southern California. This follows the female main character, Elizabeth Zott, who is a chemist. It starts off by explaining how the female main character was expelled from her doctoral program, and she was expelled because she refused to apologize for stabbing the man that was, I guess, sexually assaulting her, and she wouldn't apologize, and so they expelled her. This story follows her journey from getting out of that doctoral program to becoming an actual chemist who is employed, to finding and starting a relationship, becoming a mother, and she ends up finding herself the host of a cooking show. It's quite controversial because she's not just teaching women how to cook, but she's also going into the science behind it using her chemist background. This book will make you laugh. It will make you cry. It will make you scream. It will make you so grateful that you live in the 2000s. I absolutely loved the audio narration of this book, so highly recommend if you aren't going to physically read the book, at least check out the audiobook. It was so well done. I truly think that everybody should read this book. Water break. If you're saying this, go take a sip of your water. The next book you should add to your 2025 TBR is Curious Tides by Pascal Lachelle. I'm not entirely sure how to say her name. This is a dark academia young adult fantasy. This is the author's debut novel. It was released in 2023. This is the first book in the Drowned Gods trilogy. The second book was also released this year. It's called Stranger Skies, and I also rated that one 5 stars. Loved the second book. So you start out this book by learning that there was like an accident at this magical school where a group of students were in a cave and ended up drowning, except there was one lone survivor, and that is the female main character, Emery. She is a healer. She actually went into that cave that night trying to follow her best friend. So her best friend was one of the victims, and since she was the only one to survive, she starts trying to look into the tragedy a little bit more closely, figure out what they were doing, because she just kind of followed her best friend into the cave that night. She didn't know why they were going or what they were doing in there. So she digs into that, figures out what the heck is going on. She ends up discovering some dark secrets about her best friend that she was following, but also about the other students that were in the cave that night. Also, some dark secrets about the school that she's attending. Eventually, the supposedly drowned students end up washing up on shore, very much not drowned, very much alive. But as soon as they get to shore, they end up experiencing and dying through very magical deaths. Obviously, that ends up having our main character ask even more questions about what the heck is going on. I absolutely love the magic system in this book. The college is Aldrin College for Lunar Magics or something like that. So very much lunar magics, all about the tides, and such a unique magic system. I loved it so much. This is so dark academia, everything you could want. The libraries that they're in, there's multiple libraries at the school, and secret tunnels and secret societies, and so much good stuff in here. I really think that not enough people are talking about this book right now. I haven't really seen anybody talking about this book, and I don't know why, because it is so good. Highly recommend. The next book that you should add to your 2025 TBR is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. This is not by any means a new book. I unfortunately have lost the cover to it. So this is a science fiction slash like kind of fantasy slash like magical realism. I really don't know. I think like it's a science fiction. This one was nominated for a Goodreads Choice Award for Reader's Favorite Fiction in 2020. It was named as a bestseller for the New York Times, the Boston Globe, and the Washington Post. It was also selected as a book club pick for Good Morning America. This book follows Nora, who's a 35-year-old English woman who is just generally like unhappy with her life. She's given the opportunity to experience all the lives she might have lived if she had made different choices. The Midnight Library is Nora's limbo. It's a place between life and death where she has the opportunity to experience all of these lives. So when she goes into the library, every book that she grabs off of the shelf kind of like takes her, like sucks her in to show her the life that she could have lived. So for example, if she had never quit the band that she was in and they became like super popular, she experiences that life. Or if she had never stopped the sport she was doing and ended up going to the Olympics, what that would have been like for her. If she had not like broken up with the boyfriend, what that life would have been like. So she just gets to experience like all of these potentials. She doesn't have an unlimited amount of time in the library, so before time runs out, she is forced to face the question of like, what's the best way to live? This story is incredibly fascinating. If you've seen the Reddit threads or Reddit story or whatever about the lamp, if you know what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm talking about. But it's similar to that. It like gives that vibe where she ends up living these lives for sometimes an extended period of time, but sometimes not. I loved the writing in this book. It also like picks up really fast. So once you get into it, it's hard to put it down. This is a very thought-provoking read. It will make you wonder things about your own life, about choices that you made, about how you got to where you are today, but also helps you to realize whatever you do moving forward, you decide that. You choose your future, you know? Overall, very good read, very insightful, fun story. Number 4, I do not have a physical copy of, unfortunately. I read this on my Kindle. This is The Frozen River by Ariel Lahan. This book was nominated for a Goodreads Choice Award for Reader's Favorite Historical Fiction of 2024. This book is a historical fiction that is based on real-life diary entries of a woman named Martha Ballard, who was an 18th century midwife who ends up finding herself caught in the middle of like a murder trial. The story takes place in Maine in 1789. So the story does follow Martha Ballard. She is very well respected in her little town, not just because of her knowledge and being able to help those who need it, pregnant women, but also just like she's called upon quite a lot for other different reasons as well. She also is very good at keeping a secret. And because she is well trusted in her town, she's the first person called upon when a dead man is found. There's a lot of gossip going on. There's a lot of whispers trying to figure out what happened to this man. Martha pretty early on figures out that there's more to the story than just what meets the eye. So she decides that she's going to do everything she can basically to figure out what happened and also get justice for the situation. Eventually, because of that, there are people of power in the town who end up like taking advantage of their power over Martha and her family. Okay, so I found this quote about this book that I just kind of want to read. This book brings to life a brave and compassionate unsung heroine of early American history who refuses to accept anything less than justice on behalf of women that no one else would protect. So much of this book was absolutely infuriating, but in the best way. This is the type of book and the writing that pulls at your emotions so much that it makes you want to jump into the book. The author's writing fits the time and the setting perfectly without being overwhelming. She explains in the epilogue, most of the story is very truthful and based on those diary entries, the real diary entries, but she does end up making some changes and using different words and explaining things differently just to make them easier to explain, to understand and digest. But for the most part, it is very, very real. I also really loved these characters, and I love the way that the author used multiple point of views and storylines to tell the well-rounded story of everything that's going on. Also, the juxtaposition between the characters' honor, morals, and faith perfectly fit the timeline, the story, and just overall the seriousness of the matter. Truly loved this book, and I think that it is a fantastic read. If you like historical fiction, definitely check this book out. The last book is for the romance girlies, But also, if you're a romance girly and you haven't read this book, what are you doing? Don't know how you got here without reading this book. I also don't have a physical copy of this book because I ended up listening to it on audiobook. So highly, highly recommend the audiobook for this. But it's Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. This is a contemporary romance. It was a nominee for the Goodreads Choice Award Reader's Favorite Romance in 2024. It also was a nominee for the Reader's Favorite Audiobook in 2024. This story takes place in the Midwest of the United States, Minnesota, and it follows the female main character, Emma, who is a travel nurse, and the male main character, Justin, who just kind of lives in Minnesota with his family. Justin believes that he has a curse, and so he takes to Reddit and shares his curse with the internet, and it goes a little viral, you know, but he believes that every single person that he ever dated, as soon as he breaks up with them, or like they break up, they go on to find their soulmate. Emma, the female main character, ends up DMing him and telling him that she also suffers from the same curse. So together they concoct a plan that potentially they can cancel out each other's curse by dating each other and then breaking up. So since Emma is a travel nurse, her and her best friend, who's also a travel nurse, end up taking an assignment in Minnesota so that way she can fake date Justin, or like real date Justin and then break up with him, so that way they can go on to find the loves of their lives afterwards. But unexpectedly, Emma's very toxic mother comes to visit and ends up staying in the town for a little bit, and that causes some drama, some mayhem. And Justin pretty soon has to assume guardianship of his younger siblings. So they're navigating them trying to like date enough for the curse to be broken so that way they can break up and find their soulmates, but also dealing with the family things that are going on. This book does a really good job of combining gut-wrenching, heartfelt moments with also just very wholesome, happy, genuine moments between the two characters and their families and their friends. This is the type of book that you can accidentally sit down and read in one sitting, which is so good. The writing in this one, the emotional depth, and this is such a slow burn. So if you are a fan of a slow burn, definitely check this one out. This book is truly the perfect storm that will make you believe in love again. Okay, y'all, that is it. Those are the 5 books that I think you should be reading in 2025. If there are any other books that you think that everyone should read in 2025, definitely comment them down below. Let us know. Share the wealth. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. If you enjoyed this video, definitely hit the subscribe button. I have my Instagram, my Goodreads, my TikTok, all linked down below if you want to stay more up to date on the goings on over here. I also, how many times can I say also? A lot. I have my Patreon link down below as well. I do post all of my YouTube videos over there early, so if you subscribe, you'll have early access to all of these videos before anyone else. But yeah, I think that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!